Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Rachel with Highlands Artistry, and today we are painting a few different florals that I think would be perfect for Mother's Day. If you need to make your mom a last minute card, if you want to do a little painting for her and frame it and give it to her as a gift to show how much you love her, here are a couple ideas for you. I am using the Art for Joy's Sake watercolor palette by Christy Rice, and I would not necessarily recommend it if you want to create watercolor pieces that will last a lifetime or an heirloom piece, but if you just want to play around with fun colors, then this palette would be for you. And then I'm also using two different brushes by Mimic. I believe they were the size 8 round, and the little detail brush is a size 4 round. And we are painting in a watercolor sketchbook, but you can use any old paper that you have. So we are just getting started, and the first one that I am painting is a little bouquet of hydrangeas. I am starting by grabbing any old green color. This is more of a yellowy green. I'm creating a leaf shape. Just by pressing and dragging my brush down and doing the same down below. So for those leaves, I'm using a more yellowy green color, and that stem more yellowy green, and then right now I picked up a blue color and I'm just dropping that at the base of the petals of the leaves. Now I am going in and grabbing that really soft pink color, and I am just doing little dabs, making sure to leave space in between to represent that negative space in between the petals. And the way that I'm dabbing my brush, I'm doing it in different directions, because when you look at a hydrangea, the petals are going in multiple different directions. So I'm doing that and ultimately creating a circular shape. Now I'm picking up more of that green color and I'm adding another stem to add the next little flower. I'm grabbing more of an ultramarine looking blue and I'm mixing it in with, it's almost like a titanium buff color, and it's going to make a very muted bluish greeny color. Now for this hydrangea, I'm trying a little bit of a different technique. I am creating almost little star shapes in a little 5-petal pattern. I am not looking at a reference photo. I'm just doing this from my imagination. So here we are adding a little bit of detail around the perimeter, and I'm perfecting that circular shape that is synonymous with a hydrangea. And I'm kind of going in and adding dots into the sparse areas just to add a little bit more visual interest, I guess. For this next hydrangea, I grabbed some purple and I am just dabbing straight up and down. I'm not making irregular shapes. Just letting my brush do the work, and again, creating that circular shape and leaving some negative space in between. You don't want to just have a big purple blob. You want a little bit of definition so you can see some petals. And for that last purple hydrangea, I just am using whatever's left on my brush. Again, dabbing it in a circle, playing with that shape, and some of the other paint in the area is still wet. So it is going to mix in with that pink hydrangea and kind of blend together and do that little bit of watercolor magic. Now we're just adding a couple more stems for those other hydrangeas that we created. Letting those stems overlap with the already dried hydrangeas, and it just gives it a little bit more depth and interest. Here I am playing with the shape of the leaves that I already did, making them a little bit more yellowy. All right, next up we are going to be doing a black-eyed Susan. I am looking at a reference picture, which I can share with you below if I can find it again. Or if it's better, I can actually just trace an outline so you guys can either trace my outline or you can do your own and give it a whirl. Now that I have the flower sketched out, I am going in with, I think it is by Winsor & Newton. It is cadmium-free yellow. And this sweet little color is from my aunt. She is a sweetheart and she gifted me this watercolor paint, so I wanted to use it. So I am just going in, creating one smooth wash with this yellow color. Keeping that paint very wet as I drag it around my page. And just doing the outline of the flower. Going back in with more of that more opaque yellow, and I'm adding that to the tips of the leaves to make it a little bit more vibrant, or tips of the petals to make it a little bit more vibrant. Then, as you can see, I'm mixing more of an orangey color, but then I believe I decided not to put this in the painting. It wasn't really the vibe I was going for. So I believe I just went with a regular old brown, kind of like a burnt sienna type color. Probably mixing that in with a little bit of yellow and adding that to the center, very diffused, to add a little bit of depth to those petals. You can see in some areas I have a little bit too much water, so I'm kind of just using my brush to manipulate that color and move it around where I need it to go. I wiped my brush off. I rinsed my brush off and then I wiped it off so it's a little bit drier, and then I'm using my brush to pick up some of the excess paint that I don't want. Then we'll fast forward through this part, but I grabbed my handy dandy hair dryer. Dry the painting. You can also leave it in your window in the sunshine. It'll dry it a little bit faster, or you can just leave it and be patient and wait for it to dry. Next up, I am grabbing a green color for that stem and also for the leaf, and you can kind of see the technique that I'm using. I am pressing down more towards the base of the leaf, and as I get to a little ridge, I am lifting up, so it creates more of a spiky edge, spiky look to the edge of the leaf. I'm trying to get that point. I'm just going to take my brush with a little bit less water on it, because the more water you have on your brush, the more rounded your edges are going to be. So if you dab some off, it'll help the tip of your brush stay a little bit more sharp. So that is what I'm doing, trying to perfect that little outside shape of the leaf. Next up, I'm picking up a more brown color. This one is a little bit like burnt sienna, and I am adding that to create that center of the Black-Eyed Susan. So I'm kind of taking it and flicking my brush up a little bit to create almost like little hairs. So I'm kind of perfecting that. It's a flattened oval type shape. It's like a spiky oval is the shape of the middle of the flower, and then I'm going to take my hair dryer and make sure that it's nice and dry before proceeding on to the next step. Next up, I'm going in with a little bit more of that brown, but this time in a very, very light diluted consistency of paint. And I'm taking my finer brush, I'm just adding a little bit more detail, starting at that center and kind of working my brush out to create different shapes and shadows. And then Black-Eyed Susans have like these two indents that go down the majority of the leaf, so that's the detail that I just added. Now I'm going in with a more opaque layer of that brown color, and I'm adding more shadow, more depth, focusing that more towards the center of the flower. Now I mixed a shadow color for that leaf, and I used a little bit of that brown in with that green to give it a lot more depth. And I'm adding that center vein in the leaf as well as a couple little other veins to add some detail to that single leaf. Last but not least, we will be painting some Gerber Daisies. These images I pulled from Unsplash. You can check them out for yourselves for free to use as a reference. I'm going in with this bright fuchsia pink, and I'm letting my brush do the majority of the work. I'm letting that point be the tip of the petals and just dragging that color back towards the middle of the shape that I'm creating. Next, I'm going in with this more lobster color red, and I'm doing that same exact process. And again, repeating that process, but this time with a more peachy color. At first you can see that I kind of avoid touching the other flowers with that peachy color, but then I will change my strategy in just a moment. Here you can see that I start to overlap some of those flower petals onto the other colors and kind of let those edges blend together. Next up, I'm going in with a more pigmented version of that fuchsia color and concentrating that towards the center of the flower. I will do the same process with that red flower and eventually that peach colored flower as well. Next up, we are going in with a more concentrated, saturated deep color. This one I'm choosing brown, but you can choose black or any other deep color for that center of the flower. And I'm just taking my smaller brush and I'm stippling, which means making little dots right at the center of the flower, making sure to leave some of that darker fuchsia and that darker red visible. Now I'm going back in with my number 4 round brush with a little bit more of that dark fuchsia color, and I'm adding that to create some separation of my petals. I don't want to go too crazy with this or else it'll start looking more cartoony. You want to keep it more loose and less of an outlining every single petal. And again, repeating that same process, just using a darker red for the red flower and a darker orangey red for that peach flower. And I'm just going back in with that orangey color on that peach colored flower, and I'm going to add a little bit more depth at the center of the flower. Now I'm still using that size 4 brush, and I am picking up a more yellowy green color, and I'm adding some petals around the outside of my flowers, making sure to leave some white space in between the petal and the leaf. And I apparently did not record it, but I did go back in and add more leaves, just in a different color. I used more of a sappy color green, or you could take that same yellowy green and you can add some blue to it to give it some more depth. But that is it from me today. I really appreciate you watching this video, and I hope that you found it helpful. If you end up creating any of these, please take a picture, post it on Instagram, and tag me at Highlands Artistry. I would love, love, love to see your work. Thank you again for being here, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay creative, stay faithful, and stay rooted in grace. Bye, guys.